Testosterone is the lifeblood of man. Like there is no king without a crown, there is no man without testosterone. Satan has moved against you. He recognizes man's power lies in his hormonal health. So here's where he plots. In the places you'd expect at first, but he depends on your ignorance to really drain you with these 9 moves. Look, before we continue with the video, we both need to enter into some kind of agreement that this look is not going to be acknowledged. It is now a part of my personality, and you are accepting it as a high tea English gentleman. I'm trying very, very hard not to refer to the Peaky Blinders and my accent going a little bit here. But gentlemen, the testosterone is now declining. I mean, you've known this for time now. The Satanic Nine, the devil has its agents. It is working against you. I know God is real because you see the devil in some of these aforementioned things that we are going to go through right now. Wasting no time, the first one that you need to mitigate in your life must be the presence of refined carbohydrates and sugar in your life. Now, I believe there are some conditions to this. Don't get me wrong. But first and foremost, let's go through the effects it has on testosterone. And I'll be revealing my personal carbohydrate source because I'm starting to shift this year to being more open-minded to more carbohydrates in my diet. If you know me well, you know that I cycled a keto diet primarily the last kind of quarter of last year. But now I think it's time to introduce more carbohydrates. But first, why is this an issue? Well, we know insulin resistance is a problem. Now, I will concede this is probably more for individuals who are type 2 diabetic, right? So diets high in this refined carbohydrate, including white sugar, can contribute to this insulin resistance. And this is associated with metabolic disturbances that may be affecting hormone levels, including, of course, our most precious lifeblood as man, which has to be our testosterone levels. Some studies suggest a link between insulin resistance and lower levels of testosterone. And I said before, if you're a big boy, if type 2 diabetes is an issue for you, then I believe the best reaction for you is going to be ketogenic diet. The best thing for you if you're a type 2 diabetic is fat. Fat is not bad. It's not Satan. It's not the devil. It's good for us. It is so good for our skin, for our hormonal health, for our cognitive capacity. Fat actually creates the membrane in your cell. And it's also about 60% of what your brain is made out of. Fat is good. It is very, very good. Get the high fat minced meat. One of my favorite, I think I eat probably about 500 grams of minced meat, full fat, the 20% every single day. Go for the high fat cuts of steak. Go for your ribeyes. I love ribeye. And fry that up nicely. Good for flavor, good for, if you're gonna cook potatoes, cook them in fat. Cook them in fat. It tastes great and it is good for you. Maybe not too many potatoes, but you get the point I'm trying to make here. Number two point to this is adipose tissue. We've kind of already touched on this already, but excessive consumption of refined carbohydrates and sugars can lead to you being a chunky boy. And, being a chunky boy is associated with lower T. And that testosterone can be converted into estrogen, which can give you some B-cup titties. Yeah, so don't be overzealous in your consumption of these kind of materials. And of course, inflammation whenever these particular nutrients are concerned. And inflammation is the start of all modern diseases. It was interesting that Hippocrates used to say that if you're ill, to eat is to feed your illness. That is why fasting, which is a very anti-inflammatory process, is the greatest medicine of all time. Greatest medicine of all time. Keep it simple, stupid. Now, my personal carb sources, some of which it might be a surprise to you. Might be surprised. Sourdough. I love sourdough bread. Now, you're probably scratching your head and go, Joseph, you've just talked about refined carbohydrates. Now, sourdough, if you are going to eat white bread, is one of your healthier options. It's fermented grains, and this fermentation process gets rid of something called anti-nutrients, which diminishes them in the bread. As a result, the nutrients in the bread become more accessible for absorption. So it's actually very, very easy on the digestive system. Interestingly, that lactic acid is the sour taste, giving it thus the name, sourdough. And it has an improved nutrient profile, making it more healthier than regular bread. And it's very, very simple. Very, very simple to make. I shouldn't make any false processes. I have an idea of making, I'm not sure if I'm going to make yet, a homemade sourdough bread. You want to mitigate the seed oils in there, if there's any rapeseed, if there's any sunflower oil. These things you want to stay away from. Hopefully you know about the deadly 6 seed oils. If those who don't know, please put them in the comment sections below to save a brother. Essentially, they're like car oil. They're not made for human consumption, and yet they're rife in any shelf life packaged food product. You will find rapeseed oil because it preserves the shelf life. It's actually probably better to eat frozen because they don't have rapeseed in. And sweet potato. I love a sweet potato. And yeah, I'm starting to play around. It's actually only these 2 right now that I'm currently experimenting with in terms of carbohydrates. Still no pasta, still no rice. It's just sourdough and sweet potato. Do your personal experimentation. I'm feeling very, very good, especially when I eat my sourdough. It's not every day. It's almost like a little treat at lunchtime sometimes with some butter. And also the butter has to be in the foil. You have to buy the foil packet, because if you buy the spreadable, guess what it's got in there? Rapeseed. You have to take the foil packet and just leave it on the side, because I know, people will say, but if it's in the fridge, then you can't spread it. Yeah, put it out the fridge, dummy. Put it out the fridge. And it's got no rapeseed oil in it. It's just butter and salt. Just butter and salt. So, you've been warned. Now, statins. I wanted to touch upon statins. Maybe some of my viewers may not be old enough to the point where their cholesterol was so high that their doctor has forced them to go on to statins. But what are statins? Essentially, they are medication for lowering cholesterol via inhibition of some liver enzymes. Now, I'm not an expert on cholesterol. However, I believe my father is a self-made expert. My father was on statins for many, many years. Now he's not on statins. He's done a lot of extensive research in his own personal time. And what he's told me is that there is no evidence whatsoever to attribute cholesterol being bad for you. No direct link. Cholesterol is just the amount of fat that's in your blood at a certain time the test is being taken. There can be high cholesterol in your blood after you've eaten a high cholesterol meal. And there could be low when you're fasted. First thing, I'm not eating till 1 p.m. My cholesterol is not going to be high in the morning. So the point being is that there is no evidence from what I'm aware of that high cholesterol is bad. Statins lower testosterone by about 3.4% among men who are taking them. What is my opinion that you should do if you're on statins is I believe there is always a more natural change that you can make before medicating. You should be looking at your diet. You should be looking at practices like fasting. You should be looking at the data. You should be looking at the outcomes, not because your GP, your doctor said so. Take full ownership into your health. You know what's actually amazing, and now that I think about it, everybody should be literate with, is just health. You should know how to take care of yourself. You shouldn't have to be going to the doctor every month because you're feeling ill. That is a illiteracy in how you're taking care of yourself, and that should be taught at school. You should be taught how to take care of yourself. There's a lot of propaganda in there, namely the sugar industry demonizing the fat industry. Jury's out on that, by the way. Jury is out. Fat is good for you. Buy the high percentage fat foods. Maybe stay away from the processed stuff, the salami, the chorizo, that kind of stuff. Meh. But high fat red meat, yeah, go for it. Go for it. You're going to hear no bad or ill messages from me here. Alcohol. Now, I've been quoted in saying that I've never understood the narrative around beer and manliness. It makes you fat, it makes you emotional and reactive, and it gives you tits. Now, I know we all like to have fun. We all like to release our inhibitions at some time. I'm going to share with you what I personally drink to mitigate the B cups going on to C cups, moving on to double D cups if you are drinking a lot of beer. But essentially, this leads to elevated levels of the female sex hormone estrogen, which is going to be the culprit behind your plump chest. Testosterone is converted to estrogen and increased levels of stress hormone cortisol, which can destroy testosterone. And also, chronic drinking can lead to a disruption in your sleep regulation pattern, your circadian rhythm, which is going to decimate your testosterone levels. What do I personally drink? I drink spirits. Now, I don't drink a lot. I really don't. But when I do drink, I drink tequila mainly. Probably 75% of the time I'll drink tequila and maybe like a diet lemonade. A skinny bitch, I believe it's called. Now, I know that that has its own social ramifications about being less of a man, but hey, if your tits are bigger than mine, you have no leg to stand on. I believe there's maybe a time and a place for lager, and I think there are far and few in between. However, if you are drinking, I think these are really good options. Tequila is very, very clean. As far as I'm aware with the scientists at Whoop, it's got the highest level of recovery after drinking, and that's tequila. I would love to hear, by the way, those men who are moving away from ciders and, again, very, very sugary substances like beer, and what they're drinking instead. Maybe it's vodka. I think vodka is quite clean as well. Maybe whiskey. I'm trying to, I think for me, I'm trying to reduce the volume of fluid that I'm having. So lower percentage stuff, but higher in sugar, like beer, and going for the higher percentage stuff and drinking smaller amounts of it. And that typically works the best for me, in my personal experience. And I do like a gin and tonic, as the Englishman I am. Let's go into cortisol. Now, cortisol is the stress hormone. I'm sure you're all aware of. I've been quoted many times on Twitter saying that you shouldn't optimize your testosterone. You should seek to control your cortisol. Cortisol and testosterone have an inverse relationship. If your cortisol is high, your testosterone will be low. If your testosterone is high, your cortisol will be low. Sorry, if your testosterone is low, your cortisol will be high. You get the picture. What are the problems first and foremost? Well, stress blocks the body's ability to produce testosterone, and supplementing with magnesium can mitigate the effect of this, as well as red light therapy. I'm a big fan of red light therapy. I've only started perhaps in the last month, and I can sleep a lot better. A lot of people will give this very quip, trite, cliche quote that isn't very, very helpful. Just don't stress. Along with red light therapy, along with supplementing magnesium, I do think every single man should have a self-reflective practice. If that is something like Tai Chi, Qigong, meditation, breath work, pick one, journaling. You have to get to a place where you are increasing the length of your exhales and reducing the length of your inhales. Because when your heart rate goes up, when you inhale a lot, and when you exhale longer, your heart rate goes down. And you want to get into parasympathetic. You want to lower your heart rate. A really good breathing exercise for this is called Tumo. Another way you can describe it is called vase breathing. Or you could do 8, I believe it's 8, 8, 8, 8, 4 8s, which is inhale for 8, hold for 8, release for 8. Kind of like box breathing, but maybe you want to increase that exhale. These might be big numbers to start off with. Maybe do 6, 6, 7, no, 8, 6. That might work for you. Experiment, find what reduces your heart rate. Tumo breathing reduces my heart rate very, very well. And I sleep like a baby at night because I do red light therapy. I take my magnesium. I do some breathing, Tumo practices. Did I do meditation? Yeah, I do meditation with the red light on. So trick there. And then maybe I'll read a nice fiction book. Maybe Harry Potter, as I'm an Englishman. Poor sleep. I mean, we've just talked about a fantastic, a phenomenal, an exceptional, a transcendental routine that you can integrate now and start to incur the benefits of good sleep onto your day. But if you're suffering from poor sleep, that's going to have an increased effect on your levels of testosterone floating around in your blood. 5 hours of sleep decreased their testosterone by 10% to 15%. That is significant. MSG. Now, this is a flavor enhancer. Monosodium glutamate is the full name. MSG, you can refer to it too. This is a flavor enhancer found in restaurants, canned vegetable soup, deli meat, other foods. Normally stuff that is packaged that is preserved for shelf life. Similarly to the rapeseed, you want to avoid this like the plague. An adult intake of MSG can negatively affect sperm count and serum testosterone concentrations, as well as testicular morphology. Nobody wants funny shaped nuts, little raisinets. You want big, solid, symmetrical, as much as you can, testicles. Well, I hope you do. Anyway, and MSG has been shown to mess with that. And I don't like anybody messing with my balls. Well, not anybody. Anyway, soy. Now, if you know about this individual. To talk about soy products is perhaps to get cut by this particular person. I jest, of course. Well, I don't know. You could take whatever you want for this particular quote here, but this is Vegan Games, and Vegan Games has been guzzling soy. He might be the highest percentage individual that has been consuming the soy products in America. I think he lives in America. I don't know. Research does show that regularly eating soy products like edamame, tofu, soy milk, and miso can cause a drop in testosterone levels. And if you want proof that testosterone is lowering, just type in Vegan Games into YouTube. Listen, just listen to the voice. Just listen to the strangled voice. But yeah, soy foods are also high in phytoestrogens, which are a plant-based substance that mimic the effect of, guess what? Estrogen, and can alternately affect hormone levels and reduce testosterone in your body. Hopefully I don't see you again. Aspartame or aspartame, I believe. Different ways of pronouncing it, but this is your artificial sweetener found in Diet Coke, in diet anything, really. It is an excitotoxin which can damage and kill the nerve cell when overexposed to the neuron. Now, it's a hormone disruptor. I think with this, look, if you really want to go overhaul, you can get rid of all these things in your environment, in your fridge. I do think, though, with all that I'm saying here, there is an element of enjoying life, I think. And, if you want to have a Diet Coke at a restaurant once a month, I really don't see that as being any harm done. I think to the last point, which we'll get into a moment, which is the most serious one, in my personal opinion, and I actually think it's gone past the point where we can do things about it. I'll just share it with you. BPA. So BPA is it's microplastics, essentially. And it's estimated that every single human being now has BPA in their bloodstream, these very, very small plastics, because they're broken down in, these plastic bags, and all the plastic products that we're using, they're made from chemicals, and it's gotten to the point now where they're so small that they can be detected in your blood if you were to get a blood sample. However, what we can do is start to maybe minimize the very obvious ways more BPA can get into the bloodstream. Receipts, easy way to bleed into the skin and absorb into the skin and into the bloodstream. Drink in glass containers, not plastic containers. There are some plastic containers that are BPA proof, and they should have a triangle on them. Filter your water, of course. I've got a water filter here, and BPA-free packaging wherever you can. You can go overhaul with this and even go, right, I'm not touching any plastic bags. I'm using wool or cotton. Same with the clothes you're wearing as well. There can be clothes that have BPA in them. And guess what? If you're wearing maybe pajamas or even boxers that are made with plastics and they're bleeding into your nutsack, well, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good for you. It's something you consider. So wool, cotton, generally good, I believe. And filter your water. Maybe if you're using a lot of stuff if you use those plastic containers to store your food, get rid of them. I've got glass ones. If you're using plastic like spoons to cook your meals, use the wooden ones. Where there's an opportunity for you to switch over from the plastic to the wooden, to the cotton, to the wool, I think that's your best bet. Metal isn't bad, but also you need to remember there can be toxins in metals as well. But I believe glass is high up there in terms of being the most healthy. So gentlemen, I'm interested in, these Satanic Nine. How many of these have you got under control, and what are the ones for you that you need to mitigate their presence in your life and need to take action on immediately if you are going to raise your testosterone levels beyond the average? Because the average now, like I said before, is now a E cup. We went from A to B to C to double D to E cup. Yeah, they're E cups out there right now, and they're not very attractive. These aren't theories, these are facts. Speak soon.